South Africa, a land woven with the threads of a complex and tumultuous history, is a tapestry that tells stories of struggle, resilience, and transformation. From the earliest days, long before the arrival of Europeans, the indigenous peoples, the San and the Khoikhoi, roamed the land, living in harmony with its vast landscapes. They were the original custodians of this rich territory, their lives intertwined with the rhythms of nature, their cultures steeped in oral traditions that spoke of ancestors and spirits, the beauty of the land, and the harshness of survival. Then came the 15th century, a time when the world was awakening to exploration. The Portuguese navigators, led by Bartolomeu Dias, rounded the Cape of Good Hope, marking the beginning of European interest in this southern tip of Africa. The arrival of the Dutch in 1652, establishing a refreshment station at Cape of Good Hope, heralded a new era. Jan van Riebeeck and his crew set the stage for a colonial enterprise that would reshape the continent. The Dutch brought with them their own culture, language, and a new way of life. But they also brought conflict as they encroached upon the lands of the indigenous peoples, leading to displacement and violence. As the years passed, the British seized control, and the Cape became a battleground of empires. The Great Trek in the 1830s saw the Voortrekkers, Dutch-descended settlers, moving inland, seeking autonomy and the promise of land. But their journey was marked by confrontation with the Xhosa and Zulu nations, whose territories they invaded. The Zulu kingdom, under the fierce leadership of Shaka Zulu, emerged as a formidable power, and the clashes that ensued were brutal, a testament to the fierce resistance of the indigenous peoples against colonial encroachment. The discovery of diamonds in Kimberley in the late 19th century and gold in the Witwatersrand in 1886 transformed South Africa into a land of opportunity and greed. The mineral wealth attracted fortune seekers from around the world, but it also intensified the exploitation of black labor. The British, in their quest for control over these resources, engaged in the Anglo-Zulu War and the Anglo-Boer Wars, pitting them against the Afrikaner settlers, descendants of the Dutch. The conflicts were not merely territorial. They were battles of identity, of nationhood, and of power. The Boer War, in particular, revealed the depths of colonial brutality, with concentration camps established for Afrikaner civilians, a dark chapter that would haunt the nation's conscience for generations. As the 20th century dawned, the Union of South Africa was formed in 1910, a new political entity that enshrined racial divisions into law. The Natives' Land Act of 1913 restricted black land ownership to a mere 7% of the country, a policy designed to maintain white supremacy and economic control. The seeds of resistance began to take root as black South Africans organized themselves, forming movements that would challenge the oppressive structures. The African National Congress, ANC, established in 1912, became the voice of the struggle, advocating for the rights of black South Africans. But the road ahead was fraught with obstacles. The 1940s and 50s marked a turning point. The National Party came to power in 1948, implementing apartheid, a system of institutionalized racial segregation that would define South Africa for decades. Laws were enacted to separate races in every aspect of life: education, healthcare, housing, and even public spaces. The Group Areas Act forced black South Africans into designated areas, uprooting communities and fracturing lives. The Sharpeville Massacre in 1960, where police opened fire on a peaceful protest against pass laws, became a catalyst for international condemnation. The world began to take notice, and the struggle for justice gained momentum. In the face of oppression, leaders emerged. Nelson Mandela, a name that would resonate around the globe, became a symbol of resistance. His imprisonment in 1962 for sabotage against the apartheid regime only fueled the fire of activism. The 1980s saw the rise of mass protests, international sanctions, and a growing anti-apartheid movement that united people across the globe. The call for divestment echoed in universities and organizations as the world recognized the moral imperative to support the struggle for freedom. Finally, in 1990, after 27 years of imprisonment, Mandela was released, and the nation held its breath. The negotiations that followed were fraught with tension, but they were also filled with hope. The first multiracial elections in '94 marked a watershed moment as South Africans of all races cast their votes for the first time. Mandela, embodying the spirit of reconciliation, became the first Black president, and the nation dared to dream of a new beginning. Yet, the legacy of apartheid did not vanish overnight. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission, led by Archbishop Desmond Tutu, sought to address the atrocities of the past, allowing victims to share their stories and perpetrators to confess their crimes in the hope of healing. It was a monumental task, fraught with pain and forgiveness, a necessary step in acknowledging the scars of history. Today, South Africa stands at a crossroads. The promise of freedom and equality is tempered by the realities of economic disparity, corruption, and social unrest. The vibrant tapestry of cultures continues to evolve, yet the shadows of the past linger. The youth, inheritors of this complex legacy, grapple with the weight of history while forging their own identities in a rapidly changing world. As South Africa moves forward, it carries the lessons of its past, the resilience of its people, the power of unity in diversity, and the enduring struggle for justice. The journey is far from over, but within the heart of this nation lies an unwavering spirit, a commitment to build a future that honors the sacrifices of those who came before, and a determination to ensure that the promise of freedom rings true for all.